Hi, this is Leora Alderson with Boomers Reinvented, here today with someone I met about 5 years ago now, an incredible artist, well-established artist who's been one since a child. But today, this is actually the first of a two-part interview. And today we're going to start at the front and work our way backwards. We're going to talk a little less about her art today and a little more about an amazing journey she has had, personal journey through health issues and problems, and now coming to the other side of that through self-discovery and a lot of self-healing and introspection, I think we're going to hear about. So welcome to DianeCardaci. Is that right? Cardaci?
Thank you, Leora.
Okay. So, and it's Cardaci because you're Italian originally, right? I mean, well, still,
Yes.
but
Yes.
But were you born in Italy?
No, I'm an Italo-Americano, which means I'm born American, but I have this Italian heritage. I have dual passport. I may claim to both countries. I love them both.
Yeah.
And so we do things the Italian way sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I have another good friend who is American Italian. She was born in America, and her father was Italian immigrant. And like you, she spends a good bit of time in both places, loves both places, and speaks fluent Italian. Her name is Cindy Greco, so we'll give her a shout out here. So we reconnected recently. You know, we've touched base and touched in periodically over the past few years. And our recent connection was about something very different, because you've been in a very different kind of journey. So when did it start? And take us back to when you first started noticing changes in your health.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago, and I started noticing a lot of tension in my forehead and my eyes, and I started to recognize it almost immediately because it was something my sister had gone through, and I was like, oh no, but I got it under control. It's okay. It's tension. And so I was really in denial for about 8 months as it started getting worse. And what it is your muscles start to clamp down, and they go into spasms without you being able to control it. And it can spread from your eyes to your cheeks. It can even get into your chest and throat. So it's a pretty scary thing. But when I didn't know the extent of how bad it could get, so I thought, it's totally under control. It's probably just neck tension. My sister had it overall, Yeah. And also the denial factor. It's amazing how you can really kind of deny to yourself when something pretty serious is going on. And I was in Italy, and my husband and I would both travel, and we both are very, very comfortable with him being away, or me being away. We've been together a long time and are very comfortable with that. So I was in Italy by myself, and it happened to be a particularly long winter, very, very dreary, and a lot of rain. And finally springtime came, and the sun was shining, and I went out. This is it. I'd been waiting for this time to start drawing and painting, and I couldn't drive. It just got so bad so quickly because one of the triggers is sunshine. So it was getting worse, but I wasn't having one of the triggers, the sunshine, because you're kind of indoors with all that rain, and the sun in springtime in Italy is so strong, that Mediterranean sun. So when it finally came out, a contrast, and then I tried to get in the car, and it just wouldn't work, So that was pretty shocking, because I was like, all these little tricks that I was using, which was meditation, because meditation relaxes you, so that was really helping. And just, really working on any other reasons for this tension that was building up. It just wasn't working. And I was kind of shut down, because then I couldn't fight it anymore. And very quickly it took over, and I couldn't go for a walk. I couldn't drive. I couldn't even talk with people because their movement of their heads, some people are very, very animated, and particularly the Italians.
Right. Yeah.
I would go and meet my friend, and they'd have to pick me up, and we'd go to the cafe, and after an hour, I would just have splitting headaches. And if I tried to walk to the supermarket 10 minutes away, I'd come back with splitting headaches. So I literally spent a month in my home with all the windows kind of shuttered, so it really cut down on the light, and probably spent half that time meditating, because that was my best cure at the time. And there are some traditional treatments. That's what my sister had gone, but I know for myself, I am allergic to every possible pharmaceutical and surgery, antibiotics. And I'm very lucky because I have a friend who is an amazing doctor in Italy, amazing breast cancer doctor, but he also loves this natural treatment stuff. And we talked about it, and I decided to try going the natural way. Which is following Dr. Wall's protocol, she's a doctor who developed MS and was not going to take no for an answer.
So, and Diane, can I interrupt for just a minute? Yes, and go back?
Absolutely.
Sure. So your sister had this. So is this a genetic thing, and does it have a name?
Yes. The more general term is dystonia, because when it can spread everywhere, if it's just focused on the eyes, it's called blepharospasm. So I was kind of getting both, the more general into the face and, the mouth and that kind of thing, but also the eyes. And that's what prevents you from seeing, you can't drive or do the typical things. So.
And so it is hereditary, or?
It's not. It can also be caused by injury to nerves. There are a lot of different sources, but there are a high percentage of people that have this hereditary factor.
But your sister had it, but no one else in your family?
No,
Okay.
Fortunately.
Okay, so now going back to, you were talking about the Dr. Wall.
Yeah, so I followed her diet, and and I was very lucky, like I said, to work with this doctor in Italy who was kind of monitoring me, and very quickly it started to improve. I mean, it was really quite amazing. And the theory is this particular problem is a brain disorder, as MS, as many other illnesses, and this doctor had, Dr. Walls had. I guess she really discusses in her book how you've got to kind of force feed your brain nutrients. So even though I had already been on a very healthy diet, I didn't realize that, there's a lot more you can do to get things into your brain. And it was quite amazing. Within a short period of time, I started to see improvement, which started to give me hope.
Yeah.
And within 4 or 5 months, I started to drive, first 10 minutes at a time. And the first time I could take a walk, I was just in tears. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And it just continued to get better and better, and my life is normal now. And it's to me, I've always been a proponent of looking for natural ways. Not that it's the only way, because I do know that cases that sometimes the natural way won't work.
Right.
But I had no clue that this could reach the levels that it did.
So this Dr. Wall, was that your surgeon friend, or this is someone your surgeon friend recommended?
It was a coincidence. Somebody had sent me her book a couple of months earlier, knowing my interest in natural healing. And so
the title of her book is
The Walls Protocol.
Okay, I'm going to make sure we link to all that. The Walls Protocol.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I followed it to the T. And, she has 3 different approaches. And she really goes into the science behind it. And, it started working. So I kept going with it, and I'm still going with it.
Now, was her remedy, or were her remedies particularly for, you said, the dystonia, or was
no, she recommends it for all types of neurological chronic illnesses, because her theory, which I think makes a lot of sense, is that most illnesses come from the same source, which is kind of a breakdown on a cellular level.
Yeah.
And so by getting those nutrients in there, you know, you can build up the strength, and your body can start doing what it's supposed to do, which is heal itself.
Right. So is this a protocol that you're on for life now, or is this the protocol that, I mean, I know you're on the healthy journey for life anyway, because that's what's important
Yeah.
to you and that's how you live. Are the specific wall protocols things that you will need to continue the rest of your life?
I imagine I will, because I've noticed I had already been doing much of what she recommended, but for example, she talks about the 9 fruits and vegetables. I never did that. You know? It's like I'd cut out the gluten, but I couldn't do 9 fruits and vegetables. Yeah. And I didn't realize by, you know, what a difference that makes. And so it's clearly strengthened my immune system. I can see that my immune system is stronger. I have a pretty strong one anyway, but it's just a very healthy way of eating. So I may stray from it periodically, but with kind of like a change in way of thinking.
Yes. Yeah, that means, fit for life kind of concept means that the straying is occasional and not daily. You know, in those, we can have those occasional treats as long as that's not our way of life. So are you still, we had a little bit of bandwidth issue, so you cut out for a minute there. Let's see if you come back. Are you there? Okay, sorry about the cutout. We sometimes being in a little hollow, plus I'm outside a little far from our Wi-Fi. So if that happens again, I'll have to go back inside. But hopefully we'll keep in contact. You made the journey sound pretty smooth, and we know that, you know, there was the rough time, but I mean, it was spring. You have been waiting all season for the time to go out and celebrate, not only by enjoying the environment, but by painting it, by doing what you love to do most. Now you couldn't do that. So would you like to take us a little bit on the emotional, mental journey that you went on as a result of that?
Yeah, I mean, I clearly, the day that I realized I could not drive, I just came home and I was in tears. You know, hey, what are you going to do? I was in tears. But I'm not one for, I don't know, I kind of like to look and see, well, what's the silver lining here? And once I started to find out how much meditation helped me, I just took it as an opportunity to become the monk. You know, I really lived a monk's life for a month. And it was amazing because it would help patients, because I had no idea if the approach I was going to take was going to work, because there really wasn't any signs of it within the first month. But I don't know, somehow I had this inner belief that it would. But I did know that the meditation, I mean, I literally would meditate for hours.
Wow.
And it would release the tension. So I'd listen to music. I could still draw, which was kind of amazing. So and then I would just take short little trips out into my garden. It was springtime, and I would go out for 10 minutes, grab a flower and bring it in and just focus on the flower. It's like almost like a meditation. Yeah. And it was a great experience. I think it was, because when else in your life are you going to do that unless you go off to bed or something? Yeah. Nobody does that.
Right.
And my daughter got a little worried because I was telling her I was enjoying it. She didn't want her mother staying holed up in the house. But I just figured, you know, it was what it was. I had to give it a chance, and I had to stay positive about it and sort of take the opportunity to see, you know, where it was bringing me. And so it was a really interesting month, and I do believe that month changed my life.
Interesting. So has it been hard for you to not get on a bandwagon of, you know, almost a zealous kind of when you find something that in a way so simply so transforms your life and heals you, you know,
Yeah.
it can make you want to go out and shout it from the rooftops and let other people who are ailing know that it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes, it does make you want to do that, and it's great, especially when you feel that there are people that you feel in your heart could really be helped. But I think that's, again, where the meditation has helped me, because it's made me more relaxed about that. Just everybody has to make their own choices, and what you think is right for somebody may or may not be. Even if it is, you can't force that upon someone else. So I do try to share it with people, because there have been other people who have changed their lives because of my experience, which is why when you asked me to do this, I was a little hesitant, but then I thought about that and I said, you know, I think that it's good to talk about it. And then if somebody feels it fits for them, they check it out. And if not, it's okay too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we really appreciate you sharing this story, because even if someone has trouble that is not the same that you experienced, oftentimes the solutions are very similar. And that is eating back to the garden, to nature, to natural ways, and getting our medicine, you know, from nature. So this can really benefit. I mean, we know it's with cancer and other things that so many of those things can be healed, you know, and radically improved through going back to natural protocols. Sorry.
Right. And also being aware, because the one thing is in Italy, they don't have the extent of the chemicals. Even GMOs are against the law. You know, the slow food movement was born in Italy. So in Italy, it's a little easier to go out.
Oh, I lost you.
Tomatoes instead of potatoes. They're not frozen. So it's a lot more controlled. And but here you have to be a lot more careful, you know, where you go. Even if you go to what you think is a super good restaurant and you question them further, you know, there's gluten in the tomato sauce.
Yeah. I know. It's my daughter and I have food sensitivities, plus we're vegetarian. So yeah, we definitely have our challenges, and she's highly gluten intolerant, and I'm highly soy intolerant, and it's amazing how much both of those things are in everything. Everything. Everything with an ingredient list, you know, but the zucchini and the celery and the carrot from the garden and the tomato doesn't have that ingredient list.
And the sugar, we put sugar in everything. You know, in Italy, they just don't, although you're starting to see a little bit of it, but they just don't have the obesity level that we have, because, you know, again, you go into the supermarket, and even if you're going to buy, the Italians are getting more into prepared foods, but if you go down the supermarket to the prepared tomato sauce, you look in, sugar is not an ingredient there, you know.
So that makes a huge difference. So sorry about that freezing out, but I think we're getting even when we freeze up, we're getting essentially the end of the sentence and we're missing a couple in the middle, so it'll work out.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's working out pretty well. So you're right now you're in Florida.
Correct.
Okay, so that's your home when you're in the U.S. And what part of Italy do you live in when you're in Italy?
It's central Italy. It's beautiful. It's right in Umbria, which is the central region. It's the landlocked region, but I border Tuscany and Cortona. That movie, Under the Tuscan Sun, Cortona. I can see it from my window. So that's how close we are to Tuscany. Literally 15 minutes away. So it's the same. You know, you cross the border, but it's the same olive trees and wheat fields and culture.
Yeah, beautiful, wonderful. Going back to your meditation for a minute, since you brought that up and how important that was, were you already meditating prior to the illness?
Yes, I've meditated for years, because I know I'm a little bit, I have a lot of the Italian in me, so I'm a little bit high strung. So I've always found that before I sit down to do a lot of artwork, calm myself down, detach from whatever it is I've been doing. It's always been a great source for me. I just never took it to the level
Yeah.
that I took it this past summer.
Right. Well, what kind of meditation do you do? Is it any particular kind, or do you vary it?
I vary it, but I would say the biggest thing is just whatever will focus me and taking me into that relaxed inner state. Breathing I think is the biggest issue. Breathing and being in a quiet place and focusing on my body. Sometimes I use guided meditation, sometimes music, but sometimes nothing.
Right. So you look pretty fit, and you've always been slim. Do you also exercise?
Yes, except I've kind of been bad about this past year because the movement would mess me up. A bad habit of not exercising, and so that's one of my next frontiers to get back into. But right now I'm chasing after 2 little puppies, so I'm getting a lot of exercise that way.
Well, yeah, I can imagine. Well, I imagine you doing yoga. So you look like someone who would enjoy doing yoga.
Yes, and
Oh, sorry. Uh-oh. I hope I haven't lost
like a year because of the problem, and I went back.
Diane, 1 second. I'm sorry. I lost you when I said you look like someone who would be doing yoga, and you said and then we lost you for a second. So if you could repeat that sentence.
Yeah, I do yoga, and I particularly enjoy the hot yoga.
Yeah.
As long as
Bikram.
you have to be careful with that you don't push yourself too much, but I enjoy it. And I hadn't done it for about a year because, like I said, I got so bad about the exercise. But I went ahead and I went to a class down here, and I was kind of surprised that after a year, my body could still have the stamina to do it.
Good. Excellent. So you're on your comeback trail. And what year were you born?
54.
54. Okay. So my husband is 53. Wow. You're amazing looking, young. 61?
60.
Oh my gosh.
4 months before we hit that one.
You look like 45. I'm amazed. Congratulations. You're doing something right.
Well, thank you very much. And I do have a lot of energy. My energy level is, there was that point where when I was around 50, that suddenly my energy started to go down, and I started getting all the symptoms that so many women get, and aches and pains, and that's what really started me on the natural path. And in the process of changing my eating, my hay fever went away, asthma went away. There were all these other benefits.
Right.
So
can you list some of those? Because I think that's really important for people to hear and see, that so many of the things that people have are afflicted by and assume that they just have to deal with it or get some medicine and a pill for it. Can you elaborate on any of the other things that you noticed that have improved by virtue of your diet?
Yeah. Well, I had developed fibromyalgia, which meant my energy went down and I was in a lot of pain. And that's really what started me on the natural journey, because you go to the doctors, another prescription, and the prescriptions just make me sicker. They don't work for me. Maybe they work for some people, but they don't work for me.
Yeah.
And so I started going down this natural path, and I just started feeling more and more energy, and my pain started going down. Not this past summer, but the summer before, we were up in the Alps, and I did this amazing alpine hike that I'm like, here it is, 10 years older than when that first started happening, and my energy, I felt like, I think a person in their 20s would have struggled a little bit with that hike.
Wow.
So you really can turn things around. That's the thing. And there's so many factors that affect your health, emotional, spiritual, and the physical,
Yeah, definitely. So have you, spending all that time in meditation without getting too personal or divulging things that are intimate in a kind of spiritual kind of way, did you go sort of in and discover new dimensions of yourself, or have new visions or experiences in the inner world, so to speak?
Yeah.
Meditation.
I would say what happened is there was, I've read stories about people that go through really difficult experiences and they've had a spiritual, outcome from it. And I never quite got it because I'd never been tested in that way. But there was this amazing thing that happened that I started to realize that I could sort of separate. There was kind of like this inner me and then what was going on in me. And that was really interesting because it was kind of like this insight, like, wow, like I would get this really, really bad headache and I would go really inside and somehow I would separate from the headache. And then the headache would slowly start to release. So it just gave me a little taste. I mean, I know there are people that have far, far more severe problems than this was. And it just gave me a taste of how I think that this is how some people have this amazing strength that you look at them and say, how could you deal with that? I think they've learned to tap into that. So it's there. And so I've really come to look at this as one of the best experiences of my life, because when the little annoying things happen, it's amazing how we could take off with them, right?
Yeah, right.
And I have to remind myself, hey, get back to that inside place.
Yes, and how much there is to appreciate and be grateful for in every day.
Every day is a gift.
Every day is a gift. That's it. And I think that the moment we start heading down a difficult, challenging road, whether it's relationship conflicts, money conflicts, or health conflicts, it's recognizing that, what is it that in this moment that I can be appreciative of? So, I mean, just, some people bemoan needing to take a walk for exercise, but you are so grateful to be able to take a walk now, and so it's, it's really the little things, to be able to draw and paint and see the colors, colors that for a small, a short period of time, relatively speaking, were not readily accessible by you.
Right. And being able to take care of yourself, I was, when we got back to Florida, my husband had gotten a little touch of some bug, and I was able to get in the car and get, the Advil for him. And I just loved it. I was in this drugstore and I was like in Walgreens and I was like the happiest person in the world that I had to do this errand that I would have been complaining about years back. What do you mean I had to take my time out of the day to do this, right? So, it makes you appreciate the little things so much more. I mean, I think I've always been one for that, but it kicked it up a notch.
I think to be an artist, you have to have a deep appreciation for the little things in all aspects, but sometimes we forget to translate our appreciation for the beauty in nature, for instance, to the beauty of each moment.
Right.
Excellent. Well, Diane, I know that, so you can give us a little snapshot. You said that you can only look at the computer screen, a certain amount of time each day. Right now, you're being careful, still moving back into your full-fledged vision. Is that right?
Well, I do have a little thing that's helped me tremendously. And some of your readers might be interested in this, because I do know there are a lot of people that are having trouble with the computer when they spend all day long on the computer. And I was talking to the eye doctor and I'm saying, I told him about my journey. I knew he'd be very interested because he's fascinated by this kind. But he told me that, I said, but the electronics is still a big problem. And he told me that there's a blue light that's eliminated is given off by the computers. And that's what's really irritating to your eyes. So you can get glasses now that have this blue filter. And I did a little research on it. And you can even purchase screens to put on your computer that filter out this blue light. And since I did that, my tolerance level, it still needs to improve, but I couldn't, when you first asked me about doing the video, I didn't think I could do it. And now I can. So that's how much of an improvement it made.
Wow. Yeah. So are you wearing those kind of glasses now?
Yes, yes. They're just normal prescription glasses, but there's this filter in them. Just made them a little more expensive, but I happily paid it because it's made a big difference. My eyes don't burn the way they were, and
Right.
just I can be on I can recover from the computer a lot faster than I could
Right.
be.
So,
So
so there may be those for people who don't even need prescription glasses. They could just get the blue filter lens.
yes, and in fact, the young woman who sold me the glasses, that's exactly, young, beautiful woman. She says, but she bought them specifically for the computer. She doesn't have a prescription. So she said they will work, and they were right. So that's something that, because I do know a lot of people are complaining about that, these days.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent. Well, so we've been just at or over the time for your session today, with the computer screen. So would you be open to doing a part 2 interview maybe next week? Or we can get off the video, off the recording to schedule a time. But I'm assuming it's best for you to stop now and pick up part 2.
Well, actually, I'm feeling pretty good. If you want to continue.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So then take us back to when your artist journey, because you've been an artist all your life, and you have, my goodness, is it 17 books published?
Well, there are 6 books, and then they reformat that into other, other versions. They'll put my work in another book. So they have a lot of them out there.
And these are amazing. I'm excited. We're going to link to all of these, and I'm so excited about them because so many of your books are about, so for instance, Flowers and Botanicals, Discover Your Inner Artist, as you explore the basic theories and techniques of pencils. Another one is Shortcuts and Artist Secrets, Learn Quick Methods for Creating Realistic Drawings. Realistic Textures, Discover Your Inner Artist. What I really love about these, and I think it's especially great for our audience, is that we have so many people who, as they're reinventing their second half of life, there are a lot of in-the-closet artists or people who, have artistic inclinations and just have not taken the time, given themselves the luxury of developing that. And I think that your books are perfect for that.
Yeah, I love to spend part of my time sharing my love of art with others, because it goes so far beyond just being an artist. When I would do an art show, people would say, oh, I used to love to do art, but who has time for it now? And then if I question them, I find out they're expressing it in other ways, maybe through their photography, through the way they decorate their homes, through the way they present a plate of food. There's just so many different avenues, but the root is the art, know. And I like to encourage people to explore it, because we've kind of been brought up with this idea that you're a born artist. And artists are trained just like piano, people play the piano, violin players, you've got to do the training to get to certain levels.
Right.
But, it's something that can be, I encourage people to do journaling, to learn a little bit about it, because it'll only enrich the ways that you already express the visual world, is what I like to call it.
I really love that you said that, because I've noticed that too, that there are many ways to express beauty and creativity. And an artist, are you familiar with Julia Cameron?
Oh, yes.
Yes. She has a wonderful course that my husband took titled The Artist's Way. There's a beautiful quote. I'm not seeing it right this moment, so I'll look it up and include it with the intro to our interview. But it's the concept that creativity and to create is close to God, as close to our spiritual self as we can be. And some people express it with colors on paper, and like you said, other people express it in the way they dress and the way they decorate food or their home. I think that actually something that we didn't touch on, somebody who, we did an interview last week, and I will include a link to that interview with a lady named Jennifer Riga Manuel. And she discovered through art, her way out of depression.
Mm-hmm.
So, you may have heard that or you may have experienced that, but it's like, it begins sort of the opportunity. It's almost like a spiritual experience as far as a way of bringing out what's inside out. And I think that it could be an avenue for many people who aren't quite sure what their next steps are and what they want to do in life, who may even be stuck, to begin creating, even if it's to sit down and to start sketching or coloring something, or making a nice meal, but then decorating it, but beginning to see the beauty in each new moment and each thing.
Yeah, yeah. It, it's almost like sketching to me is like a meditation. It really is. You're just so focused on a flower, a leaf, the dog,
Yeah.
even though it's running around,
Yeah.
that you kind of forget about everything else. And whatever, it focuses you and it centers you. During that month, when I told you I would run out to the garden and grab a flower, I remember putting it and just sketching it a little bit. And the next morning I woke up and I was just having my morning tea and I looked at this flower and I'm like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing in the world. If I had a big giant bouquet of roses, I probably would not have appreciated the beauty of this one particular flower. And I think that's what sketching does for you. It makes you focus on whatever it is you're looking at. And the big challenge for people is to remember you're not sketching to create a beautiful picture. You're sketching to connect with whatever it is you're looking at. So it doesn't really matter what it is and how it comes out. It's just the connection. And that's where it's like a meditative experience.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful. That really makes so much sense. It would be the same for photographers. My daughter, Devani, whom you've met, loves to do photography, and she's an amateur photographer aspiring to take it to something more at some point in her career. And she has a really gift for, I love that such a young person, even since she was 14 or 15, finds such deep appreciation in such simple things. It's like the image of the water drop that we've all seen. It's like on a leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And we walk by them every day, and we
Yeah.
see them in such bold relief, and such, sort of reverently presented.
Right.
It's magical, and it reminds us again of, there is just so much beauty everywhere.
Right, right.
And we bring it. So our appreciation is what, in a way, that thing on its own is beautiful, but it's a reciprocal thing. It takes our appreciation of that thing to allow it to be beautiful too.
Right, right.
Very, very wonderful. So are you doing art? Are you selling your artwork, or do you have more books planned?
I think one of the other lessons that came from this experience this past year is I was living really an artist's dream, living in Italy, and I would get in my little car and I would just do color studies with my watercolor box and come home, and I was working my plan. I had this plan, we Americans like to plan. So I had the plan. I was going to do a whole series of these Italian landscapes, and I just got shut down. Yeah. And I'm like, not only was it that it was a pretty scary experience, but now what am I going to paint? Because it was a little practical painting. And it was funny. My daughter, knowing my love of dogs, said, well, why don't you do a dog portrait? And I was like, okay. So I started so now I'm doing this whole line of dog portraits, and I'm just so in love with it. Yeah. And I had been dogless for a couple of years, and I got myself what I thought was going to be one dog. It ended up to be 2 dogs. And so now my life's kind of all about dogs. But yes, I'm painting, and hopefully I'll get back to Italy. And the problem with Italy right now is when we left, I didn't know how the driving would go, and I couldn't be there by myself. So that's why we kind of resettled here. So now we're just kind of like regrouping. And but I'm having so much fun with painting dogs and, other things, flowers. And it is just so much beauty out there, You paint one thing, you paint another. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. And, find appreciation and beauty and cuteness. And
Yeah.
I saw some of the dog pictures and paintings or sketches that you had. What kind of dogs do you have?
I have two little teacup poodles.
Oh,
And they're just barely 6 months. There's 6.5 pounds between the two of them.
oh my gosh. So 6.5 months. Are they there with you? Can you show them to us?
I can, if you can wait 1 minute.
Yeah.
Come here, puppies. Come here. Come here. Come here. We'll do one at a time.
Okay.
This is little Yuki.
Yuki?
Yuki.
Oh my gosh. Too cute.
Yuki is Japanese for happiness.
Ah, nice.
And she is the happiest little thing. So now we'll get the other one. And this is Kana, who's Yuki's the feisty one. This is, Kana means and more beautiful, wonderful things, which is also in Japanese. And Kana is a very sensitive little soul. So they're both sweethearts.
Awesome.
I asked my dear friend, who's Japanese, to help me name them because we used to share dog babysitting, and it kind of felt like it was a little honor to her dog who has passed away to Japanese names. And but I was only planning on one, and the woman that was supposed to take the other one didn't want it, and I'm like, well, I can't choose, so I'll just pick two.
No, actually, two is easier. We've done both. We've had one, and then we've had two, and then one of them died, and the one that was left was depressed, literally moped, and was depressed for an entire month, and so we ended up getting a dog for him. But basically, since then, we've had pretty much two at a time, and they really do. It's very helpful. It's kind of like having two children, that they do keep each other company and they play with each other, which helps them, and yet they still love, the humans. So I think that's a great way to do it. And you have good ready subjects there to paint.
Yes.
Wonderful. That reminds me, I have to connect you with Devani, my daughter, because she has a Maltese, and she has quite a sense of humor relative to her Maltese and of life in general, but she's created sort of a whole comic strip kind of, or funny card, cutesy card kind of thing with Maltese. And so she just needs to be able to draw them, or find somebody, or learn how to draw Maltese cards so that she can create comics.
Well, this Japanese friend, that was what her dog was, Maltese.
We'll have to send me on Facebook the spelling of your dog's name so I can get that right in there. So what's next? Let me just ask. So many people might be wondering, how is it that you have you're living the dream, like you said, Florida, and also Italy. Do you have a home in both places? Does your husband?
Yes, we actually had not lived in Florida for about 5 years, because when my daughter grew up and took off for San Francisco, never to return again. Can't blame her. Wonderful over there. We decided to spend a couple of years just exploring, and but then we decided, to spend most of our time in Italy. We have a home there. We've been going to Italy for 30 years.
Wow.
And it's an addiction, so we had an old home that my husband had worked on, and it sounded very romantic, but it kind of wasn't it was kind of in a noisy spot of town. And so eventually we just upgraded and have a American type home in central Italy. And so we've been living there for the last couple of years, just as full-time Italian.
Wow. So is your husband Italian also?
Yes, he's same thing, born here, but has that Italian heritage. Okay. So yeah.
And so do you, are you now with the dogs? It's not quite as easy to travel.
Oh, I used to do it with my other two teacups. We just went everywhere. Those two little dogs had life.
Okay. Okay, so they're in the small under the seat carrier.
Yes, both of them go in one bag.
Okay, very good. Okay, and they're world travelers already.
Yes, yes.
What does your husband do?
Well, he does construction and also restaurant business. So, we've both been involved with that. So he's like me, has many hats, has done many things over his life. So we've always made flexibility an important part of our life. Neither of us have been very good at 9 to 5, let's say.
Yeah. Both entrepreneurial artists, creating different things. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, Diane, this has been wonderful, not only catching up with you, but learning about, such a journey of healing. And I know your story is going to help many more people. So we're going to put the details of that in the intro to our interview, as well as your books and your art. So if someone and the link to your website as well. And keep us posted on what your next venture is, what you paint and post next, and we will add that to our site. The fact that you've put up some new work or whatever you may be doing. Will you keep us posted?
Yes, I will, absolutely. And okay. I thank you for this opportunity to share. And I think it's wonderful what you're doing with your site, because it's just, I think there's a new awareness now than there was many years ago. And in Florida, you see this a lot. People who are hitting retirement age and just doing all sorts of fun things, changing their lives. And it's just very different than our parents' generation.
Yes,
so
very different.
Supporting that direction.
Yes. Thank you. And thanks for spending this time with us. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.